So, welcome back. Today, Sonia Barrett is my guest, and I'm very happy to have her back here. And our topic will be the human superpower, worrying. Yeah, so Sonia, welcome back to the show, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. Good to be back. And I'm looking at my Beam Me Up headset because I have these on right now too. The gardener was here. He was out there and it was gonna be really loud. But anyway, yeah, good to be back. Good to be back. I don't do that many interviews now. I don't do any really because of school. And just wanting to get through, school. So, but here I am. Yep.
So, Sonia, why did you call it a superpower, a human superpower? Worry.
Because well it's one of the things that we do naturally, automatically. We do best. We're good at worrying. um it's harder for us to do the opposite, but it's easier for us to worry. And worry and concern obviously comes, it's primal. Trying not to sneeze, I don't know why, but anyway, yeah, it's something that we're used to doing, and we're almost uncomfortable when we're not worrying. And I looked at the many layers of how we can worry without realizing that we're worrying because it's so normal. So I looked at all those many layers of that idea of worry. That's why I say, wow, we are good at that.
Yeah, we certainly are. Would you say that it is somehow wired into us with a fight flight
Yeah.
reaction? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why I say it's primal. It's
Mm,
part of our fight or flight system. It's part of our survival system. So it serves its purpose, but at the same time, we have to know when to reduce that, when to limit it, when to and to recognize the things that we place so much energy into, so much charge into worrying about. We have to just be better at examining what exactly am I worrying about? What am I concerned about? Because as soon as we drop one concern, we look for something else. Um, so that is it's primal, it's survival, it's protection. Something could happen. Worrying means something could happen, and it's something that we don't want to happen. That's generally what worrying means. And worrying also means that we feel that it's out of our control. And that's what makes us worry, when we feel like things are out of our control. We can't fix it. And the consequences of not being able to resolve it. Survival. How does
mm,
this affect me?
yeah. Would you go as far as saying, I'm circling back to the term superpower, that if you manage to get millions and millions of people worrying about the same thing, that it can be used, that we literally participate in worrying it into existence.
Well, absolutely, because worrying produces fear. I mean, it's a kind of fear. Again, fear is also part of our primal survival instinct, and it's there to alert us, to taking certain actions. So yes, absolutely, we can. It's contagious. Just automatically, it's contagious. You can see this from just simple aspects of, say, for example, okay, you're doing your best. You're like, I'm not going to worry about this situation. But then maybe your mother or a friend comes over and you start talking and you're feeling pretty good. But then suddenly they start to say things that kind of start to pull you back into worry. Then before you know it, you're kind of back in there in the worry again. And then somebody else comes along and same thing happens. And then you could see a whole room now of people who are now worried. And sometimes nobody has to say anything. Doesn't have to be things that are being said, but the energy of that worry, like everything else, broadcasts. It just broadcasts. It's a frequency that just broadcasts, just like fear. It'll just broadcast and spread. And we can say communities, when we say communities of people, might be affected in more intense ways. And when I say communities of people, I am talking, say, for example, you have people who are not necessarily in the same physical location, but you have people who are already warriors. Say it's something about health, right? They feel vulnerable in that department. And now they're hearing more about it. So you get that community of people, selection of people that are going to be more operating in a more heightened level of fear. And then it goes on and on and on like that. But yes, absolutely. And right now, yeah, this is where we are. And we're ripe, I have to say, people are ripe for fear and worry now. Through last 3 years, the conditions of the last 3 years primed people. They never got a chance to come out of that completely, of that fear. And then it's now compounded by what's going on now. So you figure you've already been primed for it. You've had more than, more than 21 days to form a habit. And what those habits may be in terms of worrying and in terms of fear and feeling unsafe, we're already there. Now you are going to have to get yourself deprogrammed. But before you can even do that, which most people aren't going to, most people are stuck there anyway, then you get new situations that support that now easily attach, because those conditions in you are ripe for feeling unsafe and vulnerable, and hoping that someone will save us or save you. And then we just back loop into the savior program again, and it just keeps looping and looping and looping. And that's that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I just thought about, as you know, I have traveled extensively because I worked as a flight attendant. And I remember there were some people, who took all the precautions. Never ice in my drinks. I do not eat salad in tropical countries, and what have you. But what I have observed, that was usually the group that had the most problems with diarrhea and everything that they wanted to avoid. And whereas I ate in Bangkok on the streets, and at somewhere at the beach, and which was not really what you call, yes, you could order food there, but it was not really a restaurant. You know what I mean, yeah?
Right, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So, and I always thought there has to be a connection, because those that were generally very relaxed with all those rules had lesser problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you're right. The mental and emotional conditions set the stage, and the obviously also your brain has these neural pathways for worrying about these particular things. So these are natural natural occurrences for people who were already in fear to whatever their issues were. They're already ripe for that. And then if anything happened, it would be like, I knew I shouldn't have, because. So there's that confirmation, and then you get that confirmation because they ended up getting sick, and then that reinforces every next time of avoidance. And then the avoidance in our minds, in our brains, already say why we have to avoid this, because. So, you know, but then the people, you're right, the people who do not have that, there's no attachment, there's nothing attached to the food or any of that in a different way, but it's more enjoyment and pleasure and relaxing everything, which does actually allow one's immune system and digestive system to be under less stress and tension and knots and fear about if you eat this, because you know you're how your body knot up when you're in fear and uncertainty. But yes, so your body is more available to process foods, and I do believe to be less acid, to probably produce the enzymes you need in your saliva to break down your food. I think there's a lot that happens. You got your dopamine, you got your happy going on. There's a lot of factors that are going to influence the biology. It's going to influence your system, your body.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Before we started recording, you said something about the age of the brain. Could you elaborate a little bit what
Oh,
you mean?
the age. Oh, did I say that? Oh, I think I mainly focused on the primal,
Mm,
the fact that it's primal and that, you know, we've got more than 4 billion years, according to our dating system here anyway, more than 4 billion years um of history of accumulation of data um, from the beginnings, from you know evolution, from the beginnings all the way up until now, that we have all of this history, and the fact that we can look at what was going to be required, what nature was going to need to implement in all species in order for all species to survive in whatever those conditions are, whatever those environments are, and our ability to adapt to various changes in our environment. And that does, in other workshops I've done, yes, I've talked about how to make that work for you, because what it tells you, if we look at it away from the fear aspect, what it tells you is that you as an individual is fully equipped to adapt and to get through anything. I don't think that's something that we really look at, but we are built to survive. We really are. And even just looking at your own life, when you examine your life, each of us, we examine our lives and we see all the things that we've lived through and some horrific conditions. You realize that you're here, like I'm here, right here now. I actually lived through all of those moments up until now in my life. Well, you are built to survive. The body is actually built to live. It is built to survive. It is built to go beyond the idea of survival. So when I'm saying survive, there is survive, you know, the fighting to survive. And then there is, when I'm saying survive, meaning to exist, to live, to be, to repair, to keep moving, keep it moving to every next stage. Either one of those levels, we are equipped to be able to do that. However, what impacts the body in its effort to do what it is designed to do is the mind that is not housed in the body. The mind is not, you can't really locate the mind like that. The thoughts, the beliefs, all of those frequencies play a role in what happens with the biology, with our survival, and with what we believe is possible for us getting through every next moment. So we see there, as it's been said, thoughts levitate above the head. They come in through the ventricles in the brain as light, and that light travels through the spinal fluid, and that spinal fluid bathes all the cells. So you see how the information that you have, whatever those thoughts are, how they come in and they bathe your entire body with it. How quickly do we get that knot in our stomach when there is fear, or our heart beats really fast? How is this reaction happening? So we can look at many different things. We don't have to be scientists just to examine ourselves in our own life and to really say to yourself, again, I have the ability to make it through any condition. I really am. I am equipped. I am designed that way. Now, okay, so now I'm going to shift away a little bit from that, from the aspect of I am designed to survive. Now we have to make a distinction, because what is designed to survive, right? Who is in this body? It's not the what is in this body. What is in this body is not worried about surviving or not surviving. It's the vehicle, it's the body that is designed to survive. What you are beyond your body just is. All right. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be transformed from one form to the other. So to another. So the body is an aspect of that which is without form, reduced to this lowered, right, to this slower spin, so that we can have this visual effect of this body system. And this body system, in a way, it's its own separate entity, in the sense that it's designed to automatically do all these things that it needs to happen. This is biotechnology designed to be able to activate aspects of itself as needed, and to just fix and resolve matters. Now, where the challenge comes in, and the way I just said that, to resolve matters, as in this is the world of matter, right? Where the challenge comes in for the body, once again, is the data, the information that is coming in from the owner of the vehicle, which would be you, that part of you. That data, the brain is designed to do what? It's an interface system. So it's designed to take its information and instructions from that part of you, and it delivers that information. It also filters according to what these terms, I like to call it, these terms and conditions that we have about what reality is going to be, what it looks like, and until we give permission, and we give commands for the brain to allow for more access, for more, then its job is to operate within what those terms and conditions are that we've established, which of course is part of our belief system and our perception. And so it delivers based on that. And this is why we are all each living the life that we live on top of the data that the body already comes with from bloodline and genetics, and just the collective human history and information. So it's a fascinating system and experience. I think the more we understand it, is the less vulnerable we begin to feel. We start to understand more about how it interacts, that this is an interactive system. How do we interact with what appears to be going on externally at all times? What is that interaction, and how do we react to any of it? So it's fascinating.
Hmm. So, as you have said, we have been primed first with a microbe, and then then came Russia and Ukraine, and now, of course, we have the situation with Hamas and Israel. And
And that's an
do you,
old, yeah, it's an old, it's an old war. It's not really, in a way, okay, it's not really a new war. It
no,
is
no.
physically, from what we're seeing, it's the eruption of that, that pus, that, but
Mm,
it's been going on. It's just been going on. Now this is the true full-on evidence, um, of that pimple popping. And it has to, all of this stuff has to happen. An eruption always has to happen. It has to happen, is part of it, the eruption. Now, how that interruption will continue to unfold, or calm down or quiet down, I think that the more people can either observe, as I said to you before, or be neutral, meaning I don't mean not saying which side what you believe. That's not what I mean. But in terms of what the scenarios of the worst things that can happen, the more you can pull back from that and just like be observe things for what they are right now. Observe every moment for what it is right now, as opposed to being part of the fuel that is going to spark, you know. I think that is really important. Whether people can do that or not, I'm not sure, because I have to keep in mind, and of course we all have to keep in mind the people that are obviously dealing with these conditions directly. Um, it's a very different thing for them. But at the same time, we always have to remember, just like I've said many times, we are located where we are for a reason. You are in your neighborhood, the neighborhood you're part of, for a reason. You are in the state, the country, the city. You are there for a reason. Now you can look at this. Now there are people who were here living life, and then they decided to go on vacation, or decided to go to that particular place at a particular time. Or, okay, we can even just look at people who decide, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, we're going to move. We're going to move, I don't know, to Florida in March. And they go there. I say everywhere you go to meet your fate, your destiny in that moment. It's true. Everywhere
mm,
you go, every step you take it to meet the conditions of that moment.
mhm,
Everybody. So there's a reason. My point is, there's a reason why you are not there. I am not there. And whoever else is not in that particular state, because that is not part of your journey in this moment. That is not part of your journey. Now, there's all kinds of other conditions behind why each person is having to interact in the way that they interact. Now we're looking at war, but then let's look at somebody who is in a abusive physical relationship, and people who have died because of it. We look at those conditions. So many factors involved. Again, we store history, we store data, we store ancestral history, bloodline history, wars and interactions between families and people that we have no idea of in this life. And people come back in, and sometimes those wars are not done between families. Faces have changed, but we come back in, and we have this thing. I don't know why. I just don't like hear that. This is something of that person. I just don't care for it. I don't know what the interactions were between those families, or whatever that was in some other moment in time. I don't know. There's so many variables here. And it's hard for us to see variables, though all those variables, when we're looking at the world of matter and the things that are actually going on. but we have to look and recognize there are layers to this situation. There are absolute layers to it, and you have to step back. If you want to be part of the solution, you have to observe differently. You have to observe, but you have to lessen the scenarios. If indeed if you recognize that the media or people, there's a particular agenda being pushed, you have to recognize that. It's like, whoa, there's a particular agenda being pushed, which means that is a way to navigate my thoughts, my thinking. It's how am I being pulled into this mass push of a certain scenario? And then that's where you step back. Step back and you observe.
Yeah. So, in other words, the real challenge of keeping the balance is knowing about the abyss, but not staring into it.
Yeah, don't jump in. Don't jump in. Don't jump in. Yeah, we are imagination machines. That's how we got here. That's how everything exists. We are imagination machines, and nobody can deny that. Scientists, they will say what they say, but then they have to recognize that too. We're great because everything that was built based on, it came out of someone's imagination. So what's your imagination building? Yeah, look at that. What are you constructing in your imagination? What are the influences that's allowing you to construct these ideas, these beliefs, these fears in your imagination? And you just watch it like a video. And that's not just with this situation, but that's just in your personal life. That's just with anything. The whole system operates off the same formula. It's just that now we're talking a global scale. But what happens on the global it's influenced by the individual. Okay. And so how do you get, 10 people to control billions of people? Well, you have to know how to navigate their thinking. You get people, just like marketing, just like all the marketing. You have to get people, first they try to tap into what they think you want, which is true, which is why they say, well, can't really manipulate. But if people are given misinformation, that's going to affect the clear choices or the perception that person will have, because they don't have correct information or all of the data. So this is how that kind of thinking or effect can happen, and that's clearly what we see. We're going to play on the thing, just like in the last 3 years. What did they play on? Everybody's fear of not existing. Always.
Yeah. When the latest situation started, I thought, yeah, okay, I see what you are doing.
Yeah, that's our primal fear, though. Why? Because we're what? We're built to survive at all costs. We will scratch and we will crawl and we will survive. And people are trying to figure it out, how they're going to survive. It's all about that. And that is a primal instinct in all creatures. They want to survive. So here we are again. We just came out of that. How are you going to survive? So my survive. And then you get the numbers. All these people are dead. Well, that means, oh my God, well, could I be next? Oh my God, war could happen here. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Again, people's lives are threatened, and they show you over and over that maybe they'll show you certain batches, but they always pick individual situations because that's how it works. You have to pick individuals more than mass, because they say that it is overwhelming and people become a bit more desensitized. But if you want them to respond and to react in a certain way emotionally, You have to give them individuals with names, identities, lives, so that you can get pulled into the emotion of, oh man, that, oh, look at that, look at that family. That is not done out of um, wanting to say, oh, so sad. That's done to get you to respond
To
emotionally,
identify.
to identify exactly. And then you get pulled in. And then people are sad in their homes, they're crying. And that's it's just we played like a fiddle all day long. Not just this situation, but all day long. Commercials, they do that with us with the commercials, as we know, and so people are responding to that. They're worried. Do I have this thing? Do I have that? What if I have that? Oh my God, I was taking this. What if this happens? And it's on and on. So you see how people are primed for it. They're primed for it.
Yeah.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Um, on a personal level, I guess one subject where a lot of parents can, yeah, identify with is worrying about your children. And
Oh yeah.
you are a mother,
Mm-hmm.
so let's say your child is absurdly late, and you slowly but surely get the feeling it might something might have happened. It's missing. So how, and that is a horrible situation.
Right.
There is no discussion about that. How would you um, recommend that people stay at least a little bit balanced in situations like that?
Oh, you're talking where you're not sure what's going on. Um, I remember experiencing something like that when one of my older son was he was probably maybe 7. Um, of course, and I understand from that perspective. I didn't understand life the way I do now, but he didn't. He usually comes home from school with this older girl that was walking home, and he wasn't there. We didn't know where he was, and that was definitely a panicking situation. Okay, so fast forward. Um, Kids, just because when they're little, there's one thing, but when they're older, I almost think it's harder because you have no control over where they are, what happens.
Hmm.
And you do feel like you're always sitting on your eggs. That's how I always describe it, like you get your wings out over your eggs, even if they're 90. So I think that what I've learned is this, and I've told other people that what I've learned is this is where intuition comes in. This is where intuition really comes in because I can feel, I really can then close my eyes and I can feel my child is okay. If you can get there, because it's a massive network, right? You can get that sense, or if nothing else, being able to stay um out of the scenarios. Stay if you can stay out of the scenarios. And I tell you why when I say stay out of scenarios. Okay, so now I have to go more metaphysical because it's just everything is related. No matter what you try to do, everything comes from the nothing and the unseen to what we can see. We just do a lot more interacting with what we think we see. But years ago, I had a friend of mine, her son, who's a grown man. She couldn't get a hold of him. She couldn't, find him. The apartment, they hadn't heard from him um, in a while. And this is he was in another state, and she was here in California. And I remember talking to her, and she had at some point just finally had decided, figured that she felt that he must be dead, you know. And so now she's deciding She's got to go up there to the apartment and, I don't know, get his stuff, all of that. And I remember saying to her, I said, wait a second. You're building this in your mind. When that does not have to be that truth. That is not that. It doesn't have to be that. I didn't say that whether I thought he was alive or not, but I needed her to change her perception. And I said, no, because and then somebody else was saying to her, telling her that as well, that they felt that when intuitively that, something happened to him and basically he was gone. And I said, but okay, let's back up. What do you feel? Can you get to that space? Can you just stop? Just stop. Let go of all of that. Let go of that. Anyway, bottom line of it is that when she was able to do that and see her son, I said, see your son. Do you see your son in your mind? Do you see him alive? Do you see that? And I think the next day is when she heard from me, either the next day or later on. And so she always remembers that story. She always remembers that. She's like, my God, I don't know if the reality I was putting together would have been, it's a Schrodinger's cat. And to some degree, it's like Schrodinger's cat. I mean, is the cat dead or alive? And then she let go of that. And there he was. He was alive. Now, I think that happens to us all the time. Choices based on scenarios, based on beliefs, based on perceptions, based on finalizing and cementing these beliefs. And so I do see that. And I have also seen that with myself. I have a thing about my kids, my son. I didn't want him to join a military. This was some years ago. And I was very upset and panicked about it simply because of how we had raised the kids. Just we didn't really believe in a lot of this stuff. So I said no. So when he decided he was going to do this, I was so upset. I had all the worst scenarios running in my head. And then I stopped myself. I said, wait a second. You're going to have to, this is your fear. This is not his. This is your fear. You're going to have to trust his journey more than anything else. What gets me through this and what I've shared with other people, you're going to have to trust your child's journey. You have to trust your child's journey. They came through you for a reason. Now you're going to have to trust their journey, which when you trust their journey, it doesn't allow you to bring in scenarios because you trust in your journey. And so when I stopped myself from running way out of control, and I called him and I said, you know what? It's your life and I support you, whatever you choose to do. This is your life and your journey. And I trust that. And then after all that stress and aggravation, he goes, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. I changed my mind anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, I've seen that happen over and over. That person gets to be what your reflection of what you think you need, and then when you back up, that doesn't have to happen. I just have seen it time and time again, and I've seen it happen with other people that I, kind of share with children how they need to perceive things, and that's generally the outcome, because it's about you, it's about me, it's about you. Whatever you feel, what I pick up with you, Judith, whatever you feel also towards it, I do feel some history, some ancestral history, bloodline history. There's some history in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That it triggers without you realizing that. So then what you see is the potential for this to happen, but you don't realize that it really is also tied to some histories there. So what I suggest with that is just the acknowledgement that, wait a second, I don't know, I might not know specifically what the history is of of my people, or my family, or whatever that may be. But I know that I am here now in this time. I am a result of my ancestors and my bloodline. I am here in this time, in this moment. And my perception of reality moving forward in this bloodline is forever changed. It's different. I have a different perception as to how I move through this moment in time. And I think that that's really important to be able to recognize these things and make that choice. And we do affect the past because the perception of the past changes. There's a lot of things that, science, physics, quantum physics, all of these things that we're going to realize more about this massive overlapping past, present, and future, even though they say that it does. But when it comes to understanding more of these things, the idea of past, present, and future existing all at the same time goes out the door. And we utilize some of these things only when it's convenient for us. But we can't do that. We have to recognize it through everything, because this moment is embedded in the whole construct of the idea of past, present, and future. So here you are in this moment in time, and there you are in the past, and there you are in the future. This moment in time determines what choice point you are going to experience moving forward. Door number 1, door number 2000, you're going to go through this field of potentiality, which is nothing but a bunch of the unlimited choice points and potentials that could happen, and just see where you are wanting to end up, the feeling at the end, not necessarily how it's all going to happen, but the resulting feeling, which is for you, is peace and balance. For you, that's what you want. That's what everybody wants. But I know for you, you want that. You want your life to be in a flow. There's peace, there's balance, and you're navigating your water, your journey, in whatever the things that you've decided that you want to do in your life and work on, and passions. That's where you're going to put your focus.
Yeah, when you describe this is where intuition kicks in. I had a situation like that. Somebody went missing, and I wouldn't have recognized it, simply because sometimes I didn't hear from that particular person for over 12 months. So I would not be the first one who notices, yeah, well, so and so is missing. But what happened was that the family lives in a different country, and they contacted me via email that they cannot get hold of their brother. And so if they knew that he was visiting me because he had a FaceTime chat with his sister. So, and for a long, long time, we actually didn't know what happened. And I have to say, when I felt into it, I always got the response, something really serious has happened, but I couldn't put my finger on it. 2.5 months later, in the meantime, I had already talked to his boss and so on and so forth, because they tried to file a missing persons report. I tried to file one as well. The police declined. They are not going to do it because we are not family.
Right.
So, okay. And then 2.5 months later, it turns out he was has been in intensive care
Mhm.
for 2.5 months in a totally different city, a city
Mhm.
where he usually doesn't go to. And that is
Mhm.
one of the reasons why it never occurred to us to
Mhm.
call hospitals in that particular area. And yeah, it's um, I'm not saying he's going to die, but he has he has a lot of troubles now. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah, but you picked up that something serious
yeah,
has happened, and
yeah.
you feel that. And I think that that's in all of us. That's in
Mm,
all of us, especially people we're close to. Um, you can pick that up because we're interlinked.
mm,
And so there are times, yes, where it's going to be what you pick up is going to be an yeah, an uh-oh. But
mm,
again, it's that person's journey. And it's not our job to necessarily go, okay, well, I'm going to stay positive. That's not what we're talking about. We're not saying stay positive. We're saying be present so that you can be in a neutral space, in an allowing space, be present. And when you're present, yes, you do get that feeling in your gut more as to what it is. Not scenarios, not in your head, but you're actually picking up the frequency of that person and those situations. And some people dream. I dream when it comes to anything. I'm a dreamer. But yeah, my children, yes, I dream. Especially my younger one. And so I tend to, I'm like, oh God, what now? So then I'll either text or call him. And sometimes it hasn't happened exactly yet, and then the next day he'll go, oh, now I see what you're talking about. Your dream. This is what happened. So we we can't doubt ourselves. We have to open and allow this incredible connection that we have, because it is all part of our system. Nature designed us that way. These functioning vehicles. We are transmitters and receivers. We have to be able to, receive all kinds of broadcasts, that we can pick up to let us know, along with, yes, our intuition tapping into future fields then, or allowing it to show up. So we are not singular. We are not just in this one space, and neither is there just one way for any outcome to happen. That's a tough one for us.
mm,
There's all kinds of ways that something could happen. And it doesn't mean that because it's happened for us one way, is it possible that there's a version of reality where it happened the other way? Those are things they're looking at. I do. So that's why it becomes important for you to be neutral and to know the feeling in the end, because that is going to align you with with the ideal then, outcome according to your journey. You don't need to experience these particular things. Do I? No, I don't really need to experience what that's like, or explosions to be going off around me. No, you can feel it in you. No, that's not. I don't feel that as part of my journey, and you can rest with that. Not that you can't have compassion for other people, but there are other factors, like I said, involved why everybody's experiencing life reality the way that they're experiencing it.
mm.
It's a tough one, but that that just makes sense. Whether you're going to get metaphysical or not, we're here, wherever that is for you. You're not there where all of this is going on, because it's just evident that that is just not part of your journey. It's just not part of your journey. So that's why that's happening.
Yeah. So a lot of people are so stressed out that they have problems of falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
or staying asleep. That might be a problem as well. And yeah, sleeping pills, alcohol is probably not the best choice, especially not for long-term treatment. So,
Yeah.
what would you suggest if somebody finds him or herself in a situation where they really have trouble falling asleep? And and that is a vicious circle, because then
Yeah.
the next day you feel more anxiety because you didn't have enough sleep, and it's
Yeah.
like a rat
It's
race.
it's a little bit of a tough one because you're having to tell people, well, don't take anything. Um, and the only thing that can really calm a person is some sort of um I don't want to say resolution, but they have to have some sort of peace with whatever they're worrying about. They have to find a place to put it with what they're worrying about, which again is the difficulty. When I go to sleep, and I've told other people that when I go to bed, it's not that you don't come with, we tend to come with our problems when we go to bed. It's time we lay down, and now we're ready to process the events of the day and worry about, what certain things that we know we need to deal with in the next day. But what I try to say to myself is when I lay there, I go, I'm only here to sleep. I'm just here to sleep. And what I find for me is it's shutting down the adventures of
Better.
the day, right? Because I always tell people what you're doing is you're you're gonna eventually, after you worry and you worry, you're gonna fall asleep, and all that information just crosses over the bridge, the dream bridge, into the next morning. And then you wake up, and then all of a sudden you realize you're awake, and then you go right back, you pick up where you left off with the worrying. Now you created this day to be similar to the day before, and so on and so forth, as opposed to being able to really say to yourself, and I've had other people tell me that, yeah, they've been doing that it works. It takes a little while to do that. I am just here to sleep. I am only here to sleep. I'm only here to sleep. And if you can just for a moment, just close your eyes for a second, and just I want you to tell me what you feel when you say to yourself, I'm only here to sleep. And if you say that several times, can you think of anything else while you're saying, I'm only here to sleep?
No, usually not.
You can't, exactly. So you make that be the focus. I'm only here to sleep. And the more I can say that, I'm only here to sleep. I can't think of other things. There's nothing else that's coming up other than I'm only here to sleep. And you, to me, that's an exercise that people can utilize. Now, if they still have a time with that, they can also recognize that right now in this moment, it's like I can't resolve these situations in this moment right now, but I can rest, I can sleep, and I can wake up refreshed. All right. And so you can find these different tools, these different ways, because everything is about programming yourself. Everything is about what you're telling yourself. And um, and some of the worst things that you're going to worry about, you can also ask yourself whether you're trying to go to sleep or not. I love this question that I always ask myself. But is that what's happening right now? No. Usually the scenario is not what's happening now. Is that what's happening right now, Sonia? No. And then I stay there. I stay right here, meaning I stay with the moment. Whatever the moments are moving, which seem like they're moving, that's where I am. I'm only right now. Is any of what you're worried about happening right this moment? No. And then you get yourself to go into this peace, because it's not happening now. And if it's not happening now, then maybe you can keep extending that moment. In that moment of it not happening, just continues to shift that away. And what happens is solutions come. It's just very hard for us to see solutions. And I find that to be true when you're in your panic mode. Again, it's like intuition. You can't really hear anything because you get so lost in this vortex of the worry and the scenarios. The imagination machine is just off the charts. But it's just that. What am I experiencing right now? Right now, I'm talking to Judith. Right now, that's what I'm doing. So anything else that I could be concerned about has no relevance right now, because I'm just talking to you. And you bring yourself back. I do it with the sitting there on the couch. I'm like, okay, but what are you doing right now? I'm watching the show. I don't care how stupid it sounds. I'm like, I'm drinking some water. It's just how you bring yourself back. Whatever it is in that moment, that's what you're doing. I'm just sitting. And then your mind always settles down. When you tell it what's happening, right, what you're doing right now, it drops everything else. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. And also what I find helps is if you have, let's say an obsessive thought that you can't get rid of for some stupid reason. And when you are aware that you are doing it right now, what also helps, I find, is you start breathing and you pull your breath underneath your navel. I mean, a really, really deep breath. And what that does, it stops the monkey chatter that is going on in your head, because you cannot do two things at the same time.
exactly.
One is deep breathing and the other one is obsessive thinking. And in the very
Absolutely.
beginning, yes, that feels funny. And maybe you have to interrupt yourself in the very beginning 20 times a day, but it will become less.
It'll become less because one, you reprogramming your brain also. You're reprogramming because the pattern loop is what you're talking about. When you can't stop and you keep looping, it just keeps looping and it keeps looping. And you want to interrupt that pattern. Which is what we're all talking about, is interrupting that. And the more you get it, you interrupt it, is the more it becomes less and less and less. It's not that loop. It's like when that damn song just you can't stop it from playing in your head, and it's just over and over and over. And then you have to interrupt it sometimes with a different song. You get it to stop. But another thing that has worked too, in the past, is just simply saying stop. It's amazing. It sounds so silly, but you just go stop. And everything stops in that moment. As soon as you say stop, everything just like quiets down, And so we have all kinds of different tools and techniques because, everything has to listen to us. Everything is listening to us. Everything is responding to us. We are being given all of what we require, all of what we have initiated collectively and individually. This is what we do. This is why we can all agree on this idea or perception of reality. We've all agreed on it for a very long time. And we agree on some things of how some things look. We certainly agree on how, in at least more in the Western world, on our model. It's so ridiculous, but yes, our model of beauty. And these silly things, of fashion, of, oh my God, that person looks so silly. And you think about it, you're like, why? Because they're not wearing the fashion for this year of what somebody said is the thing to wear, and that's what looks good. But it's so silly because I do it. I'll laugh in a second. And then I'm thinking, this is so funny, because I realize I am also imprinted with nonsense, right? I'm gonna laugh at some people who are wearing certain things, there's certain socks with sandals that it's just too funny to me, right? And I always say to the kids, I go, if ever you guys see me doing that, please, just please slap me. There's certain things, and there's certain things that people, when they're older, that they do. And I think they get to a place where they don't really care anymore. So their fashion sense, it's either they're back in 1930 with the fashion they were wearing, or 1960, or whatever time loop they're trapped in, or they just put on all kinds of combinations and they feel fine about it, right? So we look at all of these, and that's all our programming. It's like, wow. Like the only thing we came with was our naked bodies, and then we create all of these other constructs to make it work, to make reality as exciting as it is. All the rules and regulations of how to dress, how to look, you have the right cheekbone structure, all of this. We decide who's beautiful and who's not. Then we go to other places where beauty is having your neck stretched like a giraffe, right? Or foot binding. So it's like all these things that human beings do, and you step back and you're like, wow. And we don't see the other things that we do. We're not doing that, but we have bought into these protocols in many different ways. We brought into these protocols, and I think, and it's not a good or bad thing, but I think it's just a recognition, and to realize if you've done that, what else did you buy into that's running below the surface that you don't realize? It's pretty deep.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. So Sonia, before we wrap this up, I have noticed this. It says now Dr. Sonia Barrett.
Oh, that was a little while ago. I had received actually an honorary doctorate in psychophysiology from CCP, Certified College of Psychophysiology. I think almost 2 years ago now. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and now I'm completing a master's, actually long distance, but yeah, at King's College London in applied neuroscience. Yeah.
Applied neuroscience.
Neuroscience, so that I may better navigate the brain. So yes, so I'll be done next year.
Okay, and then it will no longer be honorary.
Well, that's a master's. So, well, not for the master's. That's me completing that. So, but I don't anticipate going on to get a PhD in neuroscience. I have other. That's so much more work, and this is already a lot. That's so much more work, and I just don't. I don't know that I want to invest that kind of time in that. I want to be able to apply some of these sciences, some of this information to some of the concepts that I have, some theories, some research. I'd like to do more research in that sense. So that'll be more my focus, and implementing that in my talks and so on. So that's why I'm doing it. That's really for me and my quest to dive and decode more of this life. That's really my quest.
So I wish you all the best in that
Thank you.
endeavor. I have a strong feeling you will be successful.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to go based on that intuition then.
And yeah. So guys, that was it. Night Flight for today with a lovely Sonia Barrett. And we see you all next time. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.